What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, good people, the U.S. Surgeon General is spouting more reefer madness talking points, and this time it's not just the cannabis space that reacts. The media seems baffled that people buy adult-use cannabis for medicinal purposes. What are they thinking? When you recreate, you medicate? The decriminalization battles keep spreading state to state. In Texas, the DAs versus the cops. I'm betting people still get screwed in that deal. More hearings are scheduled and support for federal legalization grows on the Hill, maybe. While congressional leaders get all hopped up over hemp and cannabis CEOs out.
This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
Are you all in? Like the people over at Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It is indeed 420, and this is Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up, talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot and cannabis cures, and of course, when I say we, I mean my partner in all things life and all things cannabis, Coach Chela. Oh, is your microphone on? It is, really? Because I am certainly modulating. Can you hear Chela, everybody? Can everybody hear Chela?
Can you guys hear me? I'm talking.
Let us know in the chat, guys, to see folks.
You guys, it's so nice to see everybody. And Dylan Christ says, this is my church, you guys. This functions as my church 100. I love this show, and I want to see it grow and strive for years.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
As soon as I can afford to make donations, I'll be making them monthly. Thanks, buddy.
Where's your microphone?
Well, I guess it's on, but it's not on.
I am keen beyond words. Keen. Yeah, put your microphone on. It was on. It just wasn't on. Chela was saying, "I'm not high enough for the show yet. I gotta smoke at least a gram and focus." I still don't hear you. I'm not looking at you. I'm on camera. What's up, everybody? Let's see who else is in the chat. Small Tube jumped in first. Dylan, thank you so much for those comments. Papa G Grows, Vegan Metro, MDM Niles. Laura P. Thanks, Laura. Yes, we survived the aftershocks.
I'm back.
Now, there you are. Hi, Coach Chela.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Yes, it's a mere 7.1, 100 miles into the desert will not deter Reefer Revolution Live.
No.
Despite two of them. Right? It was, they never... I don't remember. I don't know if you correct me if I'm wrong on this one.
Yes, you know I will.
I don't. You know you will. But I don't remember because they always say there's this minute chance that there's going to be a bigger aftershock, a bigger one afterwards. And,
I think.
And I don't think I've ever noticed that. And this time it was. There was actually this aftershock was bigger. So
these could be foreshocks.
Right.
Before the actual one.
Whenever there's been one of that magnitude, I've never seen one really bump up like that.
I don't know how they
first time
decide it's a foreshock, an aftershock, or the actual earthquake itself. But you guys, it was minor compared to other earthquakes we've been in, so don't worry about us. Let's move on. Shall we not talk about it?
I mean, it rocked for a good minute while we were watching Stranger Things.
We were totally
didn't deter us from watching Stranger Things.
Didn't make the dogs move. All was well.
While watching Stranger Things, things were moving, and it was strange. So
that's true. They've
really upped their production value on this show for season 3.
We need, we need regular letting off of steam of the earth. So I honor earthquakes that happen in the desert where people don't get hurt from them.
Well, yeah,
I appreciate those earthquakes in the most.
Speaking of desert, it was even it was even felt in Vegas, right? Vegan Metro.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard.
There you go. Bring Chela's exposure up a little bit. Beautiful, nice.
Really, I kind of like it dark. Anyway, hey Vegan Metro, hey everybody.
Vegan Metro, thanks for jumping in last week and moderating. Yeah. You still have the wrench, so,
Nice.
When all those trolls jump into our chat.
Yeah, when the trolls jump in.
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome. We were able to participate in our friend's party and move things along. So what are you guys smoking? We have got some Gorilla Glue happening over here. Some nice GG. Sorry, not Gorilla Glue. GG.
I lost power.
You lost power to your...
I'm telling you, y'all, it's a Mercury in retrograde situation. I was messing with that, it's so much better. It's getting rather warm.
I was messing with that power strip.
So warm, I'm going to turn on the air conditioner.
This is a one-man band here, folks. Chela's a great editor and producer.
But I don't do. I barely can get my own microphone on, apparently.
But the support we want from you guys is here every Sunday at 4:20 and sharing the show, subscribing, get notifications,
nice.
Ring the bell.
Hi, Papa G Grows.
We did go live on 4:20 just because it was on the 4th at 4:20 to say hi to everybody and see how you were celebrating your freedom and your independence. So that was fun. So make sure you ring the bell. So when we do go live, we're going to be on the road during the week coming up. So we may check in while we're out there if something exciting happens. We are doing some interviews for the documentary this week up in Santa Rosa. So that's pretty cool. Very excited about that. And that just getting better and better. That documentary we're starting to put together. And we hope to have a trailer of that at some point. On which we can possibly fundraise, sooner rather than later, because it's an important subject and we want to get it out there. So numerous projects in various stages of development, not the least of which is what's going on right here every Sunday at 4:20, Reefer Revolution Live, where we get high and talk about the news. And we did get some feedback about
cannabis news.
The cannabis news, yes, I did. We did get some feedback on the Politics on Pot show. Positive feedback, so we're going to not today. No. But what? No. Not
but
today.
Not from me.
Not from you. No.
But not from me. There was no positive
you did.
feedback.
No, it was positive. I mean, you didn't say it wasn't totally negative.
From me?
No. You were open to expansion within this milieu. As opposed to on
shorter shows
on EdCan.
I meant to.
Well, that could happen too. We could do that too.
shows.
We could do that too. But let's stick with what we're going today.
I don't want to focus on stuff we don't want to focus on. You know what I mean?
I know that's something that's very true. You get what you focus on, and the more energy you feed into these beasts, you're just giving them more energy and making them grow. And so we are in a universe of vibratory beings, and
yeah, man. Laura P says,
2 weeks before the earthquake, Chela says, we haven't had a big one in a while.
We haven't had any really good earthquakes lately, I said. We're overdue.
That was it. We're overdue for a big quake. Chela, the powerful creator.
I am. Laura P says, for some reason, she never gets the notifications when we go live, but watches them later. Thanks, Laura P.
That is a notorious YouTube issue. And situation.
Small tubes storming like a mofo over here in the Beast Coast.
Ooh. Yeah, we've got...
sorry, buddy. Hey, Techno Biscuit.
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling out here, but it's a beautiful sunny day. Very moderate, temperate. And there's a, hey, if we start rocking live, we'll stay live and it'll be fun.
Yeah, the power didn't go out. It was as far as earthquakes go, y'all, it was a very mild tolerable earthquake.
Not for Ridgecrest.
No, but we weren't there.
No.
We're in LA.
Yeah.
Don't worry about us. We're good.
But still, it didn't. There was I don't think anybody was killed.
Nobody was killed.
Yeah.
There wasn't any
No
injuries in Ridgecrest. Everything was cool.
One town got cut off for a little while because of slides, but 1,500 people.
Sure.
But yeah, commie plot. It's the Russians. I know it's only been happening the last 2 years. These earthquakes.
Oh my God.
There in California.
Why do we keep talking about it?
Yeah, let's start talking about the news, shall we?
Yes.
The cannabis news.
The cannabis news.
And you can follow us. It all begins. All the cannabis news begins over at DC420LA on Twitter. Whenever I find something during the week, I tweet it out over there. That's where I do my tweeting on the Twitter machine at DC420LA. And you can also find us at Reefer Rev Show on all of the socials, Twitter, Facebook. We are streaming right now live. As a matter of fact, we are streaming, multi-streaming. Thank you to Restream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Periscope, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. So wherever you're at, drop a note in the chat, and I think it might even pop up on a little crawl on the bottom there if I have things figured out. Last week, Facebook worked. I don't know if Facebook's going to work this week, but we'll see. We are going out live over there. Chela just joined. I see you over there. Hey, guys.
Hi.
So let's get into it, folks. It starts on the Twitter machine at DC420LA, but then it ends up in DC420LA, a Cannabis Chronicle at DC420LA.com. It's once a week. We put it out on Sundays. We collect some stories that we like, think are important, want to talk about on the show. Way too many news stories to talk about on the 1 hour. But you can certainly peruse them throughout the week.
The Warden's 1 hour show.
The what's that?
The Warden's 1 hour show.
The Warden? Is that you? Are you the
Yeah,
Warden?
I'm the Warden, apparently.
Well, Vegan Metro's been lobbying for a 5 hour show for since we began.
I know. He likes the later parts.
But our schedule is starting to become tighter as things progress in our projects.
Man.
And
we got
and
other
things.
stuff going on.
So we got to tighten the ship. We got to tighten up the ship. But Brian Arbor, welcome. Thank you. He says, you two beautiful Reefer Revolutionaries in the chat. Oh, there's Chris Archibald over on the Facebook.
Yeah, cool, huh?
Cool, right on. So the Facebook is working. Thanks. Share that over there if you guys like. We like to get some more viewers on the Facebook, trying to figure out how to do that because they shadow ban all the cannabis stuff and won't let us boost it. As YouTube also messes with weed tubers throughout. Thus, we started the other channel, EdCan,
which they have also banned
on YouTube, which Facebook also doesn't like because of its educational cannabis content. No smoking there, but they still don't like it.
I think it's me.
Facebook has a problem with CBD, as we reported last week. They've been going after CBD companies for a while now too, as far as their advertising. But I collect all the stories throughout the week we like. We put them in the Cannabis Chronicle at DC420LA.com. You can click over there. Follow along today if you like. If you have the ability to do that. Otherwise, peruse later. But you can get that in your inbox as well on Sunday. We just send out one a week, and you can sign up there. But Chela.
Yes, sir.
We reported last week, actually, that there was a new study out. Before we get into the reefer madness of our head doctor in this country, the people who are utilizing, we reported last week there was this study. We reported it first. In the cannabis space, certainly it was going around. But there was a study that basically said, people are using their adult use privileges, and the reason they're telling their people are using it for is actually for medicinal purposes. And lo and behold, this has been picked up on all week long.
Yeah, they're really taken by it. What a shock.
The cannabis media
People use cannabis for
continues to push
medical
it.
reasons.
Study finds recreational cannabis consumers use it medically.
No shit.
In Leafly.
Really?
Really? You mean when you recreate, you medicate? Like we've been saying?
I'm glad they did that. I mean, I'm really glad that it's being picked up by everybody because there are doctors, even enlightened doctors, who don't really get this concept. I think those doctors who are enlightened have also not used cannabis.
Are you talking doctors that are using cannabis in medicine?
Clinically, yes,
Clinically?
with their patients.
Oh, but still think that that there is something other than medical use.
Yes.
I see. So there's a sort of a gray area of what.
Oh, they can become addicts, and they should go to Marijuana Anonymous and all that stuff.
Well, one of the discussions around that is that if you get high, it's not a medicinal dose. If it impairs your functions,
sure,
or it I guess makes you,
euphoric.
Euphoric?
Have fun.
Yeah, it's not technically medical.
Huh.
It's not a
What
medicine.
about people who are treating depression?
Well, now, if you're clinically depressed and you take some medicine and then you're, it
Not depressed?
boosts you up and you're not depressed, I guess it's where you are on the scale. I guess is just coming home
just
and
wanna control
coming home
other
and getting through those after those 15 hours. Instead of popping open a bud, you want to spark up a bud, some buds, and of course, alcohol is not medicinal, right?
Not at all. It's a neurotoxin.
It's a neurotoxin. So is that a medicinal use?
Yes, it's for stress.
De-stressing, to de-stress from the day.
But some doctors would say, you should be exercising.
Exercising, eating right, getting more sleep, which
not working 15 hours a day.
Can help you.
Well, that's nice.
Well, since stress is the number one killer, and de-stressing is one of the top effects of cannabis use, I'd say it's a pretty good combination. So I'd say that, yeah, you are using medicinally, and obviously we're not the only ones that have been arguing this now. This study that everybody's picking up, it was picked up in The Root. Pretty mainstream as opposed to the the cannabis space. And of course, Normal Blog picked it up as well. The study was in the Journal of, the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs. And it was 1,000 adult use customers in Colorado. 74% of those surveyed said they consumed cannabis to promote sleep, while 65% reported using cannabis to alleviate pain. Among those respondents with a history of taking prescription sleep aids, 83% reported either reducing or ceasing their use of those medicines. Among those respondents with a history of consuming prescription opioids, 88% reported mitigating or stopping their use. I should have been on that page when I was reading that, but that's all right. That's from the Normal Blog. Steady adult use retail customers frequently substitute cannabis for opioids and other prescriptions. A little more detailed look at that study. And yeah, so there you go. Sleep. I think the three things are the most common ailments, but certainly with seniors, which is who is, basically contributing. They're expanding into this market. Sleep, pain, and anxiety, right? All of which.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Techno Biscuit is saying, Dr. Techno Biscuit, the rehab industrial complex is coming out full force. We need to counteract them with the truth.
Who is this? The rehab?
Techno Biscuit. The rehab industrial complex.
Yeah, I saw that.
Coming out full force. Totally.
Another racket.
Absolute racket. Absolute racket. That's why we're making our documentary about how cannabis helps dementia. And Laura P. is saying how also social anxiety. Cannabis Sativa is saying, got in an argument with a cannabis doctor on this. How is using antidepressants every day any different than using a cannabis strain?
Yep.
It's not different at all.
In fact, it's way better.
And Techno Biscuit
they
says,
don't make you want to kill people.
Right? Seizure meds, benzos, even opiates make people feel high. Yep. I agree 100%. Yeah, I've been prescribed Valium. I've been prescribed all kinds of fun. Yeah, they are. They're fun anti-anxiety meds, because that's my thing, is I have anxiety, and so then didn't have a lot of time to exercise. to deal with that. Now I walk dogs and I don't have so much anxiety. I also don't deal with so many assholes either.
Right. Well, yeah.
So,
You've changed your outlook. We've tried to change our outlook on life a lot the last year or so.
There's that too, but there's a lot
mortality
of mortality
and all.
Yeah, mortality and all.
MD
Absolutely.
and Niles over there on Facebook. Thanks for jumping in over on the Facebook stream to join in over there.
Cannabis works much better for me than Ativan ever did, and you definitely feel high from Ativan.
It's true.
That's why when my mom was first getting sick and they said, "Oh, she can't have marijuana," I said, "Okay, well, what about Ativan? Because it's a similar feeling, but it destroys your organs."
Yeah, well, that too.
There's that. Anyway. Yeah, Cannabis Sativa likes the story, but a lot of people don't want to make the sacrifice to become a medical marijuana patient. Those that did, MMJ patients should get priority over adult use customers. There shouldn't be a priority issue, in my opinion. There's plenty of cannabis. There shouldn't be a shortage anywhere. So, yeah.
Well, as you'll see in the afterburn, and I believe we've got a story in it in the Chronicle as well.
Apparently, there are stores in Massachusetts that go adult use, and they run out of cannabis for patients.
Right. This is a prevalent problem. It's one of the effects of corporate cannabis of Prop 64 over here in California. Is access not only is local jurisdiction and bans and things like that causing problems, but taxes are, at least New Jersey is going to start phasing out now this week. Reporting, you'll see that the new law that's just been signed in New Jersey will start to phase out state taxes on medicine. Hello, good job, New Jersey. That would be a great thing to do in California. We're trying to get compassion back in California to get some tax breaks for the vets.
That's this week, by the way. You guys should call Monday to all your people.
SB 34.
And tell them that you are for compassion in California. You should also call the governor. Let him know that you are for compassion in California, that you expect him to sign it. Yeah. Unlike his predecessor.
Not only do taxes keep people in the traditional market and out of the compliant market, it hurts patients, and you have this. You've seen sales in California drop of legal cannabis after Prop 64. You go, huh? What do you mean? Well, your legal medical marijuana sales that were going on prior to Prop 64 started to take a hit. Because they started shutting down collectives, they started changing eliminating the nonprofit model, though they did promise they wouldn't, and they would take a look at it. So nonprofit model is gone in California. Hopefully we can get it back at some point. But the collectives are gone. Technically, you can't, as far as commercial activity, and you can still technically give, cannabis to an adult. That you're growing personally from an adult, another person 21 years of age. You can still grow cannabis for patients, but it's a certain bar you have to, make in California. And no commercial, no transactional activity can happen. You have to actually be growing it for the person. You can't sell it to them. You can't be remunerated for your efforts. So they don't make it easy for patients in California, in legal California. So everybody, if you're going to pass a law, now New Jersey claims they now have the most patient-friendly medical marijuana law in the nation. I'd say Oklahoma might have something to say about that, because that seems to be a pretty good law based on the expansion that's going on there. The number one patient growth in the country. Surprise, surprise. Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
That Oklahoma is taking the lead in with a real medical marijuana bill. Now, Illinois is doing the social equity aspect of it supposedly pretty well. We'll see how it flushes out. But that's being reported. And up on the Hill this week, let's start with the Let's start with the executive branch, because the last Surgeon General was controversial and relieved. And this one, in the last couple of weeks, the Surgeon General, Admiral Jerome Adams, Rear Admiral Jerome Adams, has made a number of interesting tweets and comments in the last couple of weeks, starting last week. And last week, the cannabis space reacted heartily. And this week, even non-cannabis reporters are starting to say there's something going on here. So this was actually in a Benzinga article. Jeff Siegel, staff writer over there, libertarian type. Opinion: Surgeon General Jerome Adams' stance on cannabis is at odds with his responsibility to the nation. And just to pull a couple of things, quotes out of this article, which you can read over at the Cannabis Chronicle. He gives some examples of tweets that the Surgeon General has been making in the last couple of weeks, and one particular he responded to. This one, I'll just read real quick. Someone by the name of Cashton Foley responded to an article, or 1 in 4. The Surgeon General tweeted out, "Hope everyone had a fantastic Father Day. For this week's Sunday Spotlight on Public Health Science, I'm shining a light on this WSI piece examining women being prescribed opioids after having a C-section. Read more." And somebody responded, "Medical cannabis? Hashtag common sense. Hashtag legalize it. Hashtag opioids are drugs. Cannabis is a plant." This is Cashton Foley responding. And the U.S. Surgeon General responds, "No! Cannabis components can be passed into baby in utero and in breast milk, and there are numerous concerns regarding exposing the developing brain to cannabis, especially with more potent strains and consumption methods that mean even more THC for the baby. Hashtag no cannabis for kids." Javier Haas responded to this one. He writes for Forbes. Follow him. He follows us. And Jeff Siegel started to respond for this. And he said, so can a ton of chemicals and pesticides found in food that is available at every supermarket in the country? Where are the warning tweets about those? Your focus on cannabis and not the thousands of other things found in utero and in breast milk is suspect. And he says, what about him is rarely productive or reasonable? Additives, chemicals in food are legal and tested to be below scientifically determined safety thresholds, none of which is true for cannabis. If we can't even agree that babies shouldn't be consuming pot, I worry for us all. So let's see what Jeff Siegel says in this article. He says, it's not the type of blatant propaganda we were exposed to during the start of the war on cannabis. When films such as Reefer Madness and The Terrible Truth hit theaters in an attempt to justify policies that were based on little more than racism and xenophobia. But it's still propaganda nonetheless. It's done in a way that washes over the thought processes of most readers. To put this in a better perspective, it's like comparing a hard sell to a soft sell, and this is exactly what Adams is doing. Of course, this isn't the first time the Surgeon General has tried to soft sell the continued prohibition on cannabis. Consider back in 2018 when Adams called on the government to rethink the Schedule I classification that it attached to cannabis, a classification set aside for substance of chemicals that have no currently accepted medical use and a high potential of abuse. Other Schedule I drugs include LSD, heroin, and ecstasy, but Adams was also quick to add that public health solutions must be led by science-driven policy. As a scientist, I would expect nothing less, and this is a good thing. Certainly, I don't criticize Adams for taking a stance. In fact, I applaud Adams for noting that we should continue to seek ways to encourage and enable research to best inform policy regarding the potential medical properties of cannabis. But here's the problem. Such comments do little to help sick people now. We know that plenty of kids with epilepsy live seizure-free lives thanks to cannabis. We know there are folks suffering from arthritis, Parkinson's disease, and anxiety that are successfully treating their conditions with cannabis and dementia, to add something else to that list. And now we know there are literally thousands of veterans that are having great success using cannabis to treat their symptoms of PTSD. Supporting moves to make research is great. Moves should definitely be made so that we can research this medicine the same way we research other medicines, many of which, by the way, haven't been around and available to treat sick people for centuries the way cannabis has. The job of the U.S. Surgeon General is to protect, promote, and advance our health of the nation. The current Surgeon General's response to the benefits of cannabis, as well as his questionable comments about cannabis, does little to accomplish this job. All it does is perpetuate the propaganda that has made cannabis unavailable to so many sick people for so many years. And this isn't the first time Adam is trying to push this kid. So he is replacing the guy who gave Trump a mental clean bill of health and said he was the healthiest man on the planet, is the guy who is basically bought and paid for by Sam and the propagandists, as far as I can tell from his tweets and utterances, as the head doctor. Obviously, he did not take any ECS training in his medical school.
Yeah.
This is apparent. And also, with regards to the food, you've heard of the dirty dozen of the allowed pesticides that they say, well, just make sure you wash it 3 times. Just make sure you wash it 3 times before you eat it, and you'll be good. You're right. In California, the regulations for cannabis are so stringent that if you use California strawberries in your edibles, it won't pass.
Nope.
Because the legal strawberries in California are full of pesticides, too high to pass in a cannabis test. So there you go. You can eat the strawberry, but you can't have it in the edible. The final product, because it still tests hot, because California strawberries are hot. So yeah, he's right. These are legal. These poisons are legal, I tell you, and agreed on by the FDA. So I'm sure that the Surgeon General, Admiral Jerome Adams, will continue to spout this reefer madness, despite the real evidence that that what he's talking about is nonsense. Now, do we need more research? Yes, we need more research.
Always need more research. Techno Biscuit says, when this Surgeon General actually meets with actual cannabis docs like himself and other clinicians, then he will have more respect for him.
That's right. He was meeting with Betsy DeVos. That's who he was meeting with when he was tweeting about keep cannabis away for not for kids or whatever his stupid hashtag was. That was a meeting with Betsy DeVos going on too. So they're hand in hand with Big Pharma. Making sure that they know what's what. And the talking points put out, because it's straight talking points. I mean, basically his tweets are all straight talking points. Make sure you play up this. Make sure you play up this hardly recognized and found fact in this weird study over here. So that's they've been trying for decades now. It's all the studies that they have been doing is trying to find harm from cannabis, and there are so few examples and so few support for those examples that whenever they bring it up, they're immediately discredited because there's never been any actual proof. It's like this recent studies that the last one that came out that said, oh wait, no, we looked at it again. Cannabis don't actually help opioids. So you forget that. And everybody picked up on it. Everybody's like, look, it's all bullshit. Cannabis doesn't help opioids. Screw you guys. 122 a day. Don't forget about cannabis. It doesn't work. We've proven it because one biased study that uses that also was torn apart the next week it came out. I think Mara Golden was one of the ones that tore that one apart, right? If I'm not mistaken, it could be. So the doctors are few and far between that realize this is medicine, and obviously the head doctor of the United States is not one of them. Let's hope that he doesn't have the ear of 45 and to hinder the efforts of federal legalization, which some feel is further off than some would think. Last week we had some really big movement up on the House. Amazing movement, amazing amendments coming through. And we saw this week more push for the FDA to put out rules for CBD and cannabis in general, but for CBD in particular because of, hemp. Even Chucky the Shoe is in on the game. Chucky the Shoe is, he's all about, he actually made a phone call apparently to make sure that after the canopy growth shakeup, you'll see that in the afterburn. I find it curious, if you don't know, Lipton, head of canopy growth, biggest cannabis company in the world, right? Up in Canada, bought Acreage Holdings last week. Canopy did. Made a deal, made an offer. It was accepted, pending federal legalization. We reported on that. And Boehner was all in because he's over at Acreage. So he's all in on that deal. And now the following week, the CEO of Lipton is summarily fired. The board and kicked off the board because, Chela, I think they were going in a new direction.
Yeah, well, it's always nice to go in a new direction.
Is how they were putting it.
Yeah.
A
new direction for the canopy growth guy.
So I'm wondering.
Former canopy growth guy.
It's stewing over my head. In my head, I wonder who's going to be all in now that Lipton is all out. I wonder who's going to be all in once that deal goes down. But or who had an influence on that and what that was really all about. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few weeks with the largest cannabis company. I didn't see how cannabis. I think the whole sector took a dip. GW Pharmaceuticals is not dipping anywhere as far as I can see. Lipton. Is it Lipton? I think it's Lipton. I'm not sure. But going in a new direction. Canopy growth, apparently, and won't be with Acreage until they can get it federally legalized. And there's a new voice in federal legalization. It is the super progressive and left of center, far left of left, Ilhan Omar, in the media this week. Asked about federal legalization and says basically that leaving it up to the states is not going to get the equity that really should be had, based on the federal cannabis crimes. And we'll have a little piece of her, what she had to say in the afterburn. But not only that, there is also, I thought I had the story up here, but there's more hearings scheduled for next week.
Yes, I think it was Techno Biscuit who said he was excited about that.
About the new hearings?
Yes, I think I sent it to you in Facebook too.
Yeah, I thought I put it in. I thought it was in here, and I thought I had it open. So I don't know exactly where they're going to be.
They're going to be.
Where did that go? Let me find it. I'm gonna put you
MJ Biz Daily Story. Landmark hearing next week about federal cannabis reform, a pivotal step in potentially advancing legislation that's intended to protect state legal marijuana businesses. You bringing it up?
The subcommittee. I don't know if we're talking about the same one, because there might be several. But this is from High Times. Congressional Subcommittee schedules hearing for federal marijuana reform. The hearing has been dubbed Marijuana Laws in America, Racial Justice, and the Need for Reform.
Yeah, same story.
Same story, great. This is the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security, Paranoia, and Propaganda. I added that last part.
You think?
But it might as well be. No, it's the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security, held in the Rayburn House Office Building at the nation's capital, Wednesday, July 10th. We will not be in town.
No.
So I won't be able to stream that if it is live. But look out for that. These subcommittees often do stream live, and I will share it if I find it while I'm on the road. Let's see what it says here. It will discuss the potential pathways to a major overhaul of federal cannabis law. Justin Streckel, political director of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, NORML, said the hearing is a milestone in American cannabis policy. We've had a few of those this year. For the first time in recent memory, there will be a candid conversation in the Judiciary Committee about the failures of marijuana prohibition in the United States and how people have been impacted, said Streckel. We look forward to working with the subcommittee to best inform the conversation in committee next week and the public at large on the implications of how Congress should move forward. Witnesses ready to testify. Let's see, probably all the usual suspects. Neil Levine, the CEO of industry group Cannabis Trade Federation. Okay, so corporate cannabis will be represented in this hearing. Let's see. I wonder if, the makers of GW Pharmaceuticals and Epidiolex, which is causing now, thanks to that approval, essentially, the FDA has a leg up, has a reason to say, sorry, you can't do anything with CBD. It's been approved in a drug, so you can't just be messing with this stuff. So the FDA is now putting the serious kibosh on what's going on in the CBD world. Thus, the lawmakers saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we're making people making a lot of money with this CBD stuff, and we got hemp and stuff, hemp." As a matter of fact, not only did Schumer get in the game, but Mitch McConnell's pushing hemp in Kentucky, and he was over there with Sonny Perdue. Saying, look, we're going to get, we've got over 100 counties in Kentucky growing hemp. So we're going to make sure everybody knows this is a legal product, and banks are going to be able to work with it, and we're going to be able to grow it. And the stuff that's coming out of it is, Mitch McConnell met with the FDA last week, saying, look, we understand there's problems. And the FDA said, look, you got to do something, or it's going to take years. So I expect to see some movement on a number of fronts up at the federal, even, during this tumultuous time, crazy time. The House is moving like gangbusters on cannabis, and looks like the Senate is not going to be outdone on hemp. So we have some real cannabis action happening up on the Hill. So now we've got to make sure that the Safe Banking Act, that's going to happen because, they want their money. The banks are like, we want our money. And Facebook's like, we really would like to be able to boost ads. How about that? That's probably part of the conversation, too. They're losing out on a lot of money by kicking off these Instagram platforms and YouTube shutting down weed tubers and Facebook not allowing boosts. They're losing out on a lot of money. So I'm sure they're into this conversation. But what I was saying before about GW Pharmaceuticals, Chela, is that they are lobbying against legalization.
Of course they are.
They are lobbying. Particularly
people who were making money in the traditional market were not for legalization of cannabis either, because they knew that it would change everything. Eventually, it's going to be all like tomatoes. And people, mom and pops, aren't going to be able to stay in the game. Because it's going to be like tomatoes. People will, I think, will still always have like knitting circles where you'll go and you'll exchange yarns and whatnot, or little farmers markets.
Bring your bud and have a little Tupperware parties.
I think there'll always be that sort of thing. But as cannabis becomes more and more mainstream, I think that the people who are like those generational growers are going to have a harder and harder time making up enough money to stay in business. They're going to have to diversify or go super, super boutique-y, They grow special buds from this appellation and yada yada. Right?
Right. Well, yeah, no, that's good. Well, that's, I think, these are growing pains. I think there's going to be changes at the law at some level federally. States are going to continue to decriminalize. States are going to continue to move forward on medical marijuana and legalization. We'll have another couple of states pop for sure. Probably more like, gosh, I don't know. I'll maybe come up with a speculation for that. But, we're going to see New York and New Jersey pop, and a lot of other states are starting to seriously look at adult use and recreational. So you'll see more of those pop. We've obviously gone over the mark for medical, and CBD is pushing up from behind, and so I think you're eventually going to get to a point where you're going to have your corporate cannabis, you're going to have your large, you're going to be able to go into the 7-Eleven, you're going to be able to show your ID, you're going to be able to buy a pack of cannabis smokes, where be they hemp, cannabis light, and MedMen light, or whatever. And then you're gonna have your gourmet, you're gonna have your boutique, you're gonna have your high end, make sure you smoke this by this date, like we were hearing earlier on Tarlee's stream. That's going to be going for, $15 a gram, or, upwards of that, $60 an eighth or whatever, your high end stuff, premium stuff. And then you're going to have your, everyday stuff. And then you're going to have your stuff at the farmer's market. That's my dream. You have your stuff at the farmer's market too. You got, I got a bunch of leftover weed. Let's take it to the farmer's market, and sell it. But, that's probably way off. But I'd say we're pretty close to the day, if we survive this, melting up in the Arctic and other things. Pretty close to the day where you're gonna have a wide variety of craft cannabis versus corporate cannabis. With some of these players that have made the best business decisions and had the best investment and the support from the governments, with the programs that are working the best. You'll see winners and losers in this market. And, our big thing is, fine, let's not screw the patients in the process. Let's not screw the people who are really apparently getting medical benefit from their recreational cannabis, adult use cannabis. So let's not, all of these companies like Acreage and Canopy, they all want to be considered healthcare stocks. They all want to be considered medicine. They don't want to be considered adult use recreational cannabis. They want to be considered medicinal. I'm sure they have a variety of reasons for that, which are probably profit driven. But they're lobbying for that too. So they're both, they're trying to play both sides of it, and greed is fueling a lot of it, most of it, even with these brands and these companies. And it's like, what are you going to do? You're making all this money on the traditional market. Now you're going to go legal. But now you got all of these regulations you got to pay for. What is it? I think they're saying in one of the stories in the Afterburn, you need basically $300,000 before you can think about applying for a license. You have to have $250,000 in a bank in cash and $50,000 in credit before they even look at your application. And then if they don't approve you lose your fee for applying. So, and the applications are going off. So I didn't realize there were so many people in Missouri who were ready.
Grow cannabis,
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing that an industry literally is springing up out of nothing ever being there before.
Amazing.
No one ever growing or smoking or using cannabis in Missouri. All of a sudden, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people applying for a skill apparently they just downloaded from the internet or something, or read a book, and now they're ready to go. So it's hilarious. They're just, these states are just turning the switch from a traditional market to a regulated, a tax and regulate scheme that the greedy politicians want their cut, and the corporate cannabis is like, well, they were paying this much for this, so they can pay that here in our store, even though it's legal. And let's tell you what, let's become the Walmart of weed and force manufacturers and growers to only pay, to charge a certain amount. Oh, well, you can't have your product on here if you're going to charge over this amount. You can't charge more than this because, our customers demand low, good cost cannabis. So, okay, well, let's drive some companies out of business by doing that, Walmart style. So, it's the wild weed west out here, and in all these states that are legalizing and putting these rules in place. Michigan just put their rules in place this week. So we're going to see how Michigan's recreational adult use, I keep saying recreational, adult use cannabis market is going to play out. And I'm sure Daily Dope will have a few things to say about what's going on in Michigan with regards to that, because they seem to blow it at every step, and then they have to go back and try to fix things, but that's really what's going on here. Just like everybody else, right? Nothing is ever done, nothing's ever right? Or nothing's ever wrong, and nothing's ever finished. So just like in California, the rules are being adjusted. There's a story in the burn about some social equity laws statewide going into effect here in California, which may open up some more opportunities for people, because essentially the social equity programs are all being done on a local, individual town or city basis. The larger cities are doing it, stumbling through it. It looks like the state is going to get involved and try to help some more people out in that respect. Not that you can do it in very many places in California anyway, do a cannabis business, but hopefully they'll be helping with those new laws. Compassion is going to be trying to come back here in California, getting SB 34 passed and signed. Really, it's been what else is going on in the States? Well, Texas, we reported last week that Texas expanded, and everybody was making a big hubbub and how great it was that Texas has expanded their Compassionate Care Act or bill or whatever they call it. Alexis calls it the uncompassionate or non-compassionate care bill. But it turns out they left out a very big group of people who use cannabis as medicine. The veterans.
Oopsie.
They didn't put PTSD on the expansion list. Are you kidding me? Texas' new medical marijuana law doesn't cover veterans suffering from PTSD. The legislature recently passed medical cannabis reform, but the debate was marred by misinformation and left out people who say the drug eases their symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD left off the medical marijuana law expansion in Texas. How ridiculous is that? Meanwhile, in Texas, because of the hemp laws that are going on, the DAs are like, well, what's, until we can figure out the difference between cannabis and hemp, or rather marijuana and hemp, we can't prosecute anybody. We're never going to get it past a court of law. So the DAs, it's 4 of them, got together and said, we're just not going to charge anybody for under 4 ounces. I mean, Pennsylvania's expansion is it Pennsylvania? Oh, no. Who decriminalized? New York? New York. I think it's 2 ounces in their decriminalization effort that's waiting to be signed. Is 2 ounces. And in Texas, the DA is like, 4 ounces. We're not going to bother prosecuting. But of course, that's not going to stop the cops, as we've seen in many of the decriminalization efforts across the country, in local efforts, counties and cities saying, look, it's not worth it to go after these guys' resources. The cops are saying, whatever, we're just charging with state crimes. We're still going to arrest people, because basically marijuana smokers are not good people, essentially is what they say. And as you know, as Jeff Sessions knows, people that smoke marijuana, good people do not smoke marijuana. So therefore, i.e., e.g., ergo, that person with marijuana is a criminal, and there's something else going on. So that's their argument, is that we have to keep busting people for marijuana because there's obviously something else going on here. Yes, 3 grams cannabis sativa. Can you imagine? 3 grams decriminalized in Hawaii, to be signed by the governor. So you make sure when you pick up your 8th from your guy in Hawaii, smoke that first bowl before you leave his house. Smoke a half a gram joint or a bowl before you leave your guy's house.
3 grams, yes. Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have made it an eighth.
Right?
I mean, come on.
An eighth. Should be an eighth.
Yeah, I know it's happening everywhere.
Suppose you could eat it.
Yeah. Yeah, you can break a chunk off and eat it.
Just shove it all in your mouth.
Yeah, it's the list of tyranny. Yes, indeed. Alzheimer's in Minnesota. Yes, in other state news, the good tyrants in Minnesota have found it in their hearts to expand their list of tyranny, and have allowed Alzheimer's patients to have access to.
Well, now you can sign up.
Medical marijuana.
Yeah, now you can sign up. They put that on the list a while back, but now it's official. July 1st was the day it went into effect.
It's on most of the other states, right, Chela?
33.
That have medical.
I think it's like Alzheimer's specifically is on some number of teen lists specifically, and the rest are other incurable neurological conditions. So if you or a loved one suffers from an incurable neurological condition, make sure to push your doctor to look at medical cannabis.
Because the facts are there.
Mm-hmm.
The studies are there. Cannabis helps dementia. That's why we're making the documentary. It was a big part of our journey with Mom. We were two of those people who basically,
we didn't know.
We didn't know cannabis was medicine.
Didn't really know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the thing that calmed me, I didn't realize that I had anxiety. I didn't know that was an illness, because my family didn't really, talk about mental illnesses and invisible illnesses. That wasn't a thing in our house. So anxiety was not considered a sickness. I did know that it eased my headaches, and I did know that it eased my stomach aches. And I know I felt better when I used cannabis, but I didn't realize it was because it eased my anxiety. So obviously now I know that, and I really know that because I saw it with my mom. With my mom, I saw how, oh wow, because her anxiety was crazy town. I mean, people living with dementia have a lot of really marked anxiety, and to see the difference of before and after, it's a really big change. So you can see that it's medicine. So there you go.
Do you happen to know if it is on the Arkansas list?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I could certainly look.
Well, I hope it is, and it'd be great if it was, because apparently Arkansas's medical marijuana program is not doing too shabby there, with bringing in sales of $2.2 million in just 2 months. Nearly 2 months in, the Arkansas medical marijuana sales have surpassed those of some larger states, also in their infancies in the market. Since the first dispensary opened in Hot Springs on May 10th, medical marijuana sales have totaled $2.2 million, according to the State Department of Finance and Administration. Arkansas's legal cannabis market outpaced more populated Ohio, which debuted medical marijuana earlier this year. The first 2 months of Ohio sales were just shy of $2 million, according to the Ohio Medical Marijuana Control Program. The natural state, yes, that's Arkansas, natural state sales numbers have more closely resembled neighboring Oklahoma, where the weed comes streaming down the plain.
It definitely is on the Oklahoma list. And, by the way, yes, to answer your question, it is on the Arkansas list, Alzheimer's disease.
Nice.
As well as other neurological diseases like ALS, and diseases that produce wasting syndrome, peripheral neuropathy, intractable pain, severe nausea, seizures, severe or persistent muscle spasms. Yeah. So yeah, there you go.
So according to the Natural States Commission, Medical Marijuana Commission, they issued 5 cultivation licenses, 32 dispensary licenses under Amendment 98 to the Arkansas Constitution. Ooh, that was a constitutional amendment. The amendment legalized medical cannabis in Arkansas after voters approved the measure in 2016, but legal and regulatory hurdles slowed the program's rollout. Well, not anymore. So just 32 dispensary licenses, or 32 cultivation. No, 5 cultivation, 32 dispensary licenses, pulling in $2.2 million. Not bad, Arkansas. Arkansas and Oklahoma are, this is...
Oklahoma is superior because there's no
up.
list.
We're ramping up.
Yeah, Oklahoma is showing us how it's done.
There's
no list.
This is actually the number one reason. That and home grow, of course. But no lists really is the number one reason in Oklahoma is a great law because they're, it's just between you and your doctor, folks. That's it in Oklahoma. Most of these other states, California effectively has that. There's a list, but effectively they've added a thing that said whatever if your doctor thinks it's good.
Well, that's also in California, but most doctors in California don't have education in the endocannabinoid system.
And it's still on the CSA in California.
Because apparently it can't come off the state CSA.
Right.
Because it's on the federal CSA.
Blah, blah, blah. But we can legalize cannabis?
Right, and we can collect taxes from it.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. There must be a way around it. We have to find a clever lawyer who wishes to find the end run so that we can write a proposition to make doctors learn about the ECS.
Indeed.
I do the capitalist way of making sure that my doctor knows about the ECS. I stop going to doctors who don't know about the ECS, but right now that makes me a person without a doctor. So right now I don't have a doctor, even though I live in LA. I know that there are 3 gerontologists that are members of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. I'm going to see about getting a few more members in. Actually, maybe the lady doctor that I want to go to is a member. I'm going to find out. Anyway, I digress. Looks like you're digressing too.
Well, I'm just looking at some other state news.
Cool.
Apparently, folks in Utah are trying to figure out how they can grow their own because that's what you can do under Amendment 2, and folks are trying to figure out how to do that. So that's pretty cool. As I said earlier, Michigan has rules. They have the rules for selling your recreational pot. And here they are. Presuming we get applications on the day we start accepting applications, I would expect we would possibly issue licenses in November. And under the new rules, 3 new categories of licenses will be available. They will allow people to become marijuana-themed event planners, hold marijuana events such as Cannabis Cup competitions, which have been held in recent years but not sanctioned by the state, and where they want to get their piece, where pot can be sold and consumed. And open social clubs where people can gather to use marijuana, but where nothing else can be sold, such as coffee or snacks. Are you kidding me? I can understand booze.
Yeah.
But coffee and snacks? That's ridiculous. But here's the problem. One of the problems. Currently, state law requires that medical marijuana licensed applicants show they have assets between $150,000 and $500,000 in order to qualify for a license. Those high numbers have left many people unable to get a license. The ballot proposal that legalized marijuana did not include language on capitalization requirements, so the MRA did not include them in the rules. Oh, interesting. So they're just making it up. How much do we want to charge these fuckers?
These derelicts.
These criminals. These drug dealers. How much do we want to charge these drug dealers to get a piece of the action and for us to their protection money? How much protection money should we get from these people? So we leave them alone. Give them a license. Oh, you want us to rub out your competition? Sure, just point them out.
Huh?
Who doesn't have a license? We'll go get them for you.
That's right.
No problem. You paid us $500,000. We'll do whatever you like.
You know what's kind of cool though is that people who did pay the $500,000 aren't narking on the ones like full out narking.
What do you mean?
I don't think they're full out like saying, "Hey, Go arrest those people at 1257 Main Street because they're an illegal grow.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I don't know about that.
I haven't seen any stories that say that.
That is certainly one of the things that was said at that launch of the California propaganda campaign.
The California propaganda campaign said, yes, please narc on your neighbors.
Let us, if you see something, say something.
Yes, but we know for a fact that at least 2 of those brands are, not saying something, and they're doing something.
And that's
well, at least
that's just the 2 we know of.
Right. So
So that I'm sure there's a big chunk of that. Every company that is going legal has an illegal side. It's where
market.
They came from.
Yeah.
It's
just like Missouri had all those people pop up overnight. Guess what? They didn't just pop up overnight.
Exactly.
Duh.
Exactly. Duh is right. But they are. And this, we were talking about that in a great stream earlier. Tara Lee had a great stream. They're very enjoyable whenever I've been able to jump in. But consumption, outdoor consumption or public consumption or event consumption, the topic came up, and we've been to dozen events, licensed events, industry events. From the spectrum of, quote, fully licensed cannabis consumption events under the new regulations to quasi spaces where there's not really an event license going on, but it's in a private space. But it's that, and then full on, there's vendors, traditional market, party
event
vendors, brands, guys selling eights or quart, giving you, you come to the party, you get a gram, kind of stuff. And they're, it's all different sides of the same coin. Standing up there on the roof of this big event, smoking weed with all these corporate cannabis people. Nobody worried about anybody coming up those stairs, breaking down any doors, when everybody's breaking federal law, and probably breaking state law. Essentially.
Oh, definitely. Oh, there was definitely breaking state law. There was alcohol.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
There was alcohol there.
So, there's definitely this, and there's actually a video in the afterburn that a young man puts it perfectly. For years, there's these people who have supported their families and put food on their table selling some weed.
Yep.
And they build reputations. That was Tara Lee. It was a conversation earlier with Dan. The traditional market is built on reputation, and you don't have to test, or you get good weed, or you don't get crappy weed because you're not going to get it from that guy anymore if he gives you crappy weed.
It's all reputation.
All reputation.
You will go to a different traditional market seller if you sell crappy weed. That's why it was, it was good, because it was your reputation, and that's what everything hinged on. So now you've got this transition where all of the traditional market guys are trying to get into this legal space, trying to craft the laws so that they can survive, not be consumed by corporate cannabis. Some members of the space are very socially conscious and thinking about equity and trying to make sure people get into the space and share opportunity with that. Some are coming in out of state and out of country. Investors are coming in trying to take over, using social equity laws to try to take over and get a foothold. Canada is invading California like crazy with investment. And how that's working, I don't know. But they are, and other places too, other states too, other countries. So it's a game, how it's all going to play out. There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. And we just need to protect the patients and make sure they keep their heads above water and able to access medicine, and they don't have limits. I mean, I don't know what they expanded to, but boy, Utah is so excited about their new THC limits expansion. Our laws are lame also for patients here in California. That's why real medical patients can't go to licensed dispensaries for the kind of medicine they need. They need more medicine.
Right, because it's they need quantity and quality, and you're not getting quantity in reasonable prices in this new market. No. All of the packaging is and labeling and rules and regulations
and daily limits.
That's right. It's all based on making sure you don't get too high.
If you're fighting cancer, or if you're living with dementia, an average dementia person living with dementia uses about 30 milligrams a day.
So we've heard. From doctors in the know.
I suppose it's doable. I mean, you get a couple of tinctures. You get a couple of $85 tinctures, and that could last you the whole month.
Oh, sorry, I was wrong. That was Missouri Amendment 2, not Utah. Missouri Amendment 2 allows people to grow weed. It wasn't Utah. Utah expanded their THC limit, but it was Missouri that you can have home grow. That's the other thing. If they're stopping home grow,
tyranny.
That's tyranny. You have to be able to grow your own herbs. I'm sorry.
You must.
You just have to.
At least 6 big ones.
At least 6 big ones. Minimum. But they're going to try to. They'll try to once they realize that people are growing these giant Volkswagen-sized plants, they're going to be like, oh, we're going to have to find a way to limit the size.
Right. Absolutely.
And then forget the whole conversation about, all of this testing that they're talking about. They're saying, oh, you have to test for potency and what's in it and chemicals. Make sure there's no chemicals in there. Okay, fine. But potency, and now it's like, what's the terpene profile? Well, it turns out every frickin' flower is going to have a different terpene profile on the same plant. That's apparently what Israeli scientists are looking at right now. And its effects are different from flower to flower. So, a little challenging, and we know THC at the top of the plant is heavier than it is down at the bottom where there's more light, so it's changed, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about this?
No, you're not wrong. Apparently your lips aren't syncing, so go to a store.
Yeah, apparently my lips aren't syncing. It's been doing that for the whole show.
Oh, sorry, guy.
I had to switch over. I tried to use Steam Labs OBS and I launched and it didn't go to the restream, so I opened up OBS and I didn't get a chance to adjust my camera setup. So I'm doing a little max headroom today.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll adjust itself eventually. Probably not. But we'll get through it. We're just about done for the hour. We're going to get into the afterburn. Any other news stories we want to touch on real quick before? Oh, I know there was one thing I wanted to mention. I forgot what it was. So anything you can remember you want to talk about that we missed this hour?
Contact your representatives, you guys, every week and urge them, to be cool about cannabis.
Oh, the Peter Gigante issue. Did you mention the Peter Gigante article?
I didn't.
Because that's good.
It is.
In Green Entrepreneur. The cannabis industry must keep alive the legacy of LGBT activists.
Yes.
Caring for the neediest AIDS patients during the worst years of the epidemic began the struggle for legal cannabis, but legalization has put those programs in jeopardy.
Yeah, and Todd McCorea, the founder, one of the co-founders of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, helped create that whole movement as well. If you guys are looking for a cannabis clinician in your community, go to the Society of Cannabis Clinicians.
Yeah, it's an excellent resource.
A practitioner.
Yeah.
It is an excellent resource. It's true. And if you are a practitioner and you wish to be in community with other clinicians, join the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. It's an excellent, excellent organization. It's been around for 20 years. That's what I got to say about that.
That's all we got to say about that. All right. And yes.
Techno Biscuit is a member.
Oh, fantastic. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. That's great. That's great to hear. Real doctors doing real work with cannabis medicine at the Society of Cannabis Clinicians. And amazing resource that we didn't know about until we started doing this show and trying to do the news about cannabis.
Yep.
And we do this every Sunday at 4:20 live, usually in sync. when I can get everything to work properly.
That's all right. People just listening won't know.
That's right. That's right.
Unless we told them.
Unless we told them. I don't move much, but, it's okay. It's all good. But big week coming up for us. We're heading up north, heading up to Santa Rosa. Maybe we'll check in on the road. But we will definitely be back next week. So make sure you subscribe, get notifications, ring the bell. We're not really going anywhere. We're just done with our first hour, and we're going to shut down the stream momentarily to give YouTube a chance to leave us alone with copyright threats, because we claim fair use, because we hotbox the mainstream media with blunt commentary over how they cover marijuana across the country. So stay tuned for the afterburn, and we'll be right back. Right, Chel?
Yep, we'll be right back.
All right, stay tuned.
Thank you.
Free the plant, free the people. See you in a minute. Stay in the chat. You might need to refresh. See you in a minute or two.
I usually have to refresh.
Usually do.